What's up? So, yeah, I've had some time to just process the unboxing from yesterday and kind of just, you know, it was really sort of my first submission, and I've learned a lot. Um, and also, I think even though we may disagree with CGC, they have their standards for grading, and we're going to go over the books, look at the grader's notes, and I think I've come to terms with the fact that, yeah, I'm not a grader. I'm not a grader, and even, um, even if unless I really get into grading, and take the time, because oftentimes when we're uh, at a comic shop, or we're at a comic convention, or we're just buying comics from a seller, whether it be online or somebody local. It's difficult to gauge the grade of a book unless you take it out of the bag and board and really just kind of examine. You can't grade a book as uh, with as much attention to detail and care as CGC puts in. Let's just put that out there, okay? So unless you actually buy a book and it's in your possession, and then you take the time to look over the grade, I guess. So when you purchase the book, there are things you can do to kind of determine just on first glance whether the book has near mid potential, but you won't completely know of that potential until it's in your possession and you have some time to just carefully pour over the book. So that's the challenge. I mean, finding near mint copies in the wild is, in and of itself, a challenge because, first off, if a dealer has such a copy, they're going to price it as such. So if you're getting a bargain on a book, if a book is being toted as uh, near mint, and it's getting, um, you're getting like a under fair market value, or like a discount on it, you have to be wary of those kinds of uh, deals. And oftentimes, a lot of the books out there, there's no grade, there's just a price tag, and you have to kind of determine for yourself, okay, is that price worth what I'm worth the grade of the book? And so a lot of the raw books are priced really sort of in that that near mint minus very fine plus range, when oftentimes they're probably in the very fine uh, category. Um, so those are just a few observations that I'm just now coming to terms with, in terms of moving forward and purchasing books, for grading potential. And also, I'm not going to even entertain grading for lower price books now. Um, I think that's just a fool's errand. Uh, not that any of these books that I got graded are going to be sold, but why would you submit like a $10 book, which would potentially come back a 7.0 or an 8.5? There's just no point to, because I mean, unless it just skyrockets up in value, you might as well just wait till it skyrockets up in value to get it graded. So from here on out, really we're talking about just keys. Um, I would say books that, if you get graded, would sell over, would would net you a good profit off the grade. Now, if it's a sentimental book, and it's just low grade, you just want to preserve. I think that aspect is viable. You should probably pursue that. Um, but again, if it's something not of uh, a lot of not of financial value, you should reevaluate what you submit to CGC. So, Sentimental Value, I have a book again that's signed by Stan Lee. It's probably going to come back around, I would say, an 8, maybe a 7.5. But I'm going to get it graded anyway because um, it's going to get a green label and it's just going to be Stanley's signature in a slab. And I'm going to present it that way. I think that's the best way to keep that comic. I'm not going to sell it. So well, ultimately, what I'm paying for is the grading service itself, but the slabbing of the book. Or maybe I'll put the comic in a top loader. So essentially the same thing, right? You can remove the comic and whatnot. The slab just kind of keeps it in there, but top loader's another option, much cheaper option. And I think the top loader option is going to be for the lower value books that I want to kind of present like I have here. Let me just show. So I'm in the process of, I don't live in a big house, so there's not really room or space to create a quote-unquote man cave. This is pretty much as close as I'm going to get to a man cave, a bookshelf with. Now I've got more toys and comics and sports cards at my parents' place. I am probably at some point gonna make it over to where they are and take all that stuff up and bring it back. It's quite a load actually. A lot of books too. I have a lot of trade paperbacks and whatnot, and a lot of just manga books and toys, and I have my like PlayStation and games as well over at my parents' place. So that will come back at some point, but it's a lot of junk. So what I'm hoping to do is kind of keep this in the corner, all this stuff in the corner. And when my son is old enough to sort of get into collecting and maybe take up the hobby, I am going to create, put all this stuff up in his room and create basically a man cave for him so that the books can be present and he can kind of appreciate it. I can appreciate it when I go into his room and see all my comics up there, all the slabs. So that's a project I think long term. For now, this is as good as it's going to get. In fact, I don't even have enough shelf. I've got 3 more books coming back. I'm submitting about 10 more books, so I'll have a total of probably 17 slabs. I can't fit them all on in this corner, so what I'm going to eventually have to do is just keep them in a box somewhere and present the high grade ones. You kind of rotate them in and out, so I'm looking at different comics. But yeah, here are the books. So we're gonna take a little break, and when I come back, we're gonna go over the grader's notes and kind of pour over the books and just look at trying to spot all the flaws that CGC pointed out. Now I don't have the grader's note for this one, and I doubt there are going to be grader's notes for the 3 lower tier comics that are coming back. But I pretty much know what brought the grade down on this book, so we'll go over that as well. Okay, see you in a minute. Okay, we're back. So what you'll notice is I have triple bagged these slabs. They're triple bagged. I just want to protect the cases because I know, so as durable as these slabs are, they are prone to scratches, and so I want to protect them as much as I can. So I have the CGC bag here on the outside, but I also have this clear poly bag, and it's really, you can really see right into the comic. It's very clear, presents well out of the CGC bag. This is just additional protection on my part. You can pick like 30 or 40 of these up at Daiso for $1.50. So if there's a Daiso in your area, I recommend picking them up. And it just looks nice. It keeps the slab protected. You can kind of touch it. You're not gonna get fingerprints on them. And again, you can see right into the book and slab. So in terms of the visual aspect, it's not really hurting the book at all. Okay, so let's go over the grader's note. The grader's note says, right crease at the crease right top of front cover breaks color. Okay, I don't know what they're talking about. So they're talking about there's a crease right there, right front. It does break color. It breaks color, but barely. Jeez. I mean, you want to knit. If you look at it like from the top angle, right? You can kind of see, I'm sure you can see it right there. It's barely noticeable, but it does break color, so you can't disagree with it, but it's so faint. It's really faint. But anyway, that is a pretty big crease. But again, I got a 7.0, which is, I don't think that was the thing that knocked down this grade. It's the next part. Foxing top of back cover. So I covered it in my video yesterday. That's what they're referring to right there. So yeah, you know, this is an older book and everything else looks really great, but yes, there's foxing right there. And you know, I did request to have this pressed and cleaned. Looks like they couldn't get it, they couldn't have it present better. That's some pretty major foxing right there. But yeah, it's a little, some kind of foxing kind of seeped into the cover there, made its way kind of from the top to bottom. And overall, like, it's not heavy. Again, they describe it as foxing top of back cover. It's not like heavy foxing, in my opinion. But it is foxing nonetheless, and it's kind of isolated to the top back cover portion there. So, but this book did get white pages, surprisingly, even with the foxing and that crease. We got white pages. So the other issue with the book is very light spine stress. So that was the third part. Very light spine stress lines breaks color. So spine stress lines that break color, and I don't know if you can see it right here. There's a little bit of a glare right there. That's what they're referring to. So we've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So yeah, we got a bunch of just very minute, minuscule spine stresses that break color. So those three things are what got me a 7.0. Now, I am not objective. I think, though, they were a little harsh. I think the foxing is what hurt my grade. CGC obviously thought that was significant enough to bump it down. Or those three things that covered that. Anyway, I don't even. So you've got to really look close to find that cover, that crease that breaks color. That's what they're referring to right there, that crease right there. If you look at it from afar, you don't even notice it. So on first glance, again, this looks like a near mint book. But yeah, from the front, it looks great. And you know, those stress lines, you don't even see the stress lines until you get really, really like right about there. You start noticing it. Anyway, it presents well. I still love this book. Again, I got this as a wall book because I read the classic X-Men on this, and I just love that. It was one of my, I think that classic X-Men was my first introduction to Byrne Claremont, and it's what kind of launched my love affair for X-Men. And then came, you know, I got into the current titles. And at that time it was, Mark Silvestri. Arthur Adams and Mark Silvestri is when I got into X-Men, and then along came Jim Lee, and that was like game over, man. So, yeah. This is a comic, absolutely awesome comic, and good comic to have. Okay, so that's the first book, my lowest grade. We covered this in a previous video, and this is the Batman Dark Knight Returns. I thought this was a fair grade, considering. So again, this one presents really well overall. There's no like nothing major. But if we nitpick, so you can see there's a little bit of just the edge is not clean. The corners are pretty sharp though. I mean, this would be, if nothing else, if there's nothing else wrong with this book, the corners would have gotten a near mint grade. Nothing along the spine. Again, the front looks great. Even the back looks great. The back, same kind of, you've got a corner there, little blunted corner there, a little corner damage and edge wear there. Doesn't present well. This is the thing that got me the 8.5. There's a big chip on that back corner there. It's pretty substantial. You can see it from far away too. So that chip is what brought us down to an 8.5. This had, again, white pages. Overall, the front presents really well. It's just that back corner that dinged us, and that's fine. Again, this is in the same vein. These are books. I got this as also at the comic shop. I read this. Yeah, this is the thing. I originally bought the second, so I didn't read this from the first. I bought the second issue, is where Batman battles the mutant gang leader, and ends up winning a battle. So like basically an elderly Batman defeats a young. Oh no, he gets his, sorry, in the second issue, he gets his ass wiped. He comes back and beats him up later, I think in the third issue or something, but yeah, he gets his ass wiped by a younger mutant leader in a brawl. But I read that second issue first. That was my introduction to this series, and then so I went back. I think later the trade paperback came out, and I read the whole thing through the trade paperback, and then that's when I decided, okay, I want to get this first. The second issue that I had bought, well, I had read so much. I probably just, as a probably read copy, I probably wouldn't have graded higher than 5, but I don't have that in my possession anymore. I do want to get that one though. That one has a great Frank Miller cover. Beautiful Frank Miller cover. So that's something I'd probably want to get just slabbed and presented it as well. So maybe I'll look for that this weekend. Maybe I'll try to pick up all 4 this weekend if I can. They don't have to be like near mint copies. I'm fine with sort of higher mid-grade copies, so as long as they present well. Okay, so that's that, and our next book is let me just get the grader's notes for this one up here. So that the next one is Amazing Spider-Man 252, and so this is another book that presents really, really well. But yeah, there are just very minor flaws. Again, that top edge, just off the bat, you can see. I'm not even reading the grader's notes right now. I'm just showing you like that corner there. Not the best corner. Well, that one's pretty. That one's okay. But I'm sure you can tell from just first glance, it presents really well. It's just there's just little minor flaws here and there, and then you notice here there's some rippling there at the top edge that didn't make it out on the press. And again, I didn't check the back cover. I just kept it in the bag and observed the grades from the front. Had I taken it out of the bag and looked at the back, definitely that would have signaled to me that this would not be a 9.8, probably even not a 9.6. Those are several minor flaws. So, but anyway, going over the grader's notes here. So it says light foxing, full bottom of back cover, and yeah, there's light foxing there. You can kind of see it. Very light. But yeah, light foxing. I guess they're just saying like this should present as white, but it's darker. So the entire back cover is light foxing, they say, full bottom. Very light wear, full top of back cover. So that's what they're referring to right there. Very light wear, full top of cover. Again, light wear. Very small crease, top, back cover. I think they're referring it to a crease. They're referring to that right there. Slight. I mean, that's ever so slight. But I guess it is. If they say it's a crease, yeah, you can kind of see the crease there. I mean, it's really not a crease. It's like a blunted corner, but if you look, you can kind of see the line right there. So they're saying that's a crease rather than just a blunted corner. But anyway, that's it. Very small crease at the top back cover. Breaks color. That's what they're referring to. Does kind of break color, but it's so minuscule. I mean, they were really nitpicking here, but I mean, they still gave me a near mint grade. So off white to white pages 9.0. This is a Grail book, so I'll take it. It still presents really well. Again, all the stuff is on the back cover. All the grader's notes just comment on the foxing here. Very light foxing, very light wear, top edge, and then a very light, you can't even call that a crease, but they call it a very, what are their exact words, very small crease, top back cover, breaks color. Okay, if you want to say it breaks color. You guys are the experts, I guess. Okay, so our last book. This is we saved the best for last, grade wise. Now, I'm not a big Deadpool fan. I bought this comic because Rob Liefeld was just the shit back in the day with this New Mutants and X-Force. I just had this one. I had the number 100. I also had one of the other ones. I think 94 was 95 or 94 as well. Just had these random New Mutant issues. But fortunately, and I just got them to read. Well, not to read, to kind of like read and then save. So I didn't like, read these all that often. I think I just read it once and then bagged and boarded it and just kept it in the collection. So yeah, I think I showed you my New Mutants 100 that's in my collection. That one also looks very top grade. I'm sure it would get a 9.6 as well, because it was pretty much kept in the same conditions, and it was in my possession the entire time. So from the comic shop to home, and it came out, so basically, this was like a new comic that came out. I would buy it and just keep in my collection. So 9.6 off-white to white pages, and I think the off-white coloredness is what got me this particular grade. But let's go over the grader's notes here. There are some issues with this copy. So very light spine stress lines to cover. Okay, so we're going to go over what they're referring to as very light spine stress. Now, mind you, this was pressed and cleaned. I'm not seeing a stress line. Right there. So they're saying that. I mean, there's probably a couple more. Yeah, right there. There's another one. I mean, they're really minuscule. I mean, if you kind of back out, like about there, you can barely tell it's there. It's only when you kind of zoom in, you can kind of see. But again, very minuscule. Everything else, like from afar, you would never know the stress lines are there. So very light spine stress lines to cover. And then they say a very small crease right top of front cover. So right top of front cover. They're referring to that, yeah. Ever so slight. Actually, this is actually worse than the Amazing Spider-Man, but yeah, there you can see. It's almost like a little rip. Now, I'm just wondering if that was there when I initially submitted the book, or if that was something that happened during the pressing and cleaning process. Anyway, from my recollection, that was a clean, sharp corner. And yeah, there's another. Oh, they didn't ding me for that. There's another little sort of stress line there. See, this is what's really questionable about. From my recollection, I'll have to go back and look at the photos of this book before I submitted. Go take a look. I don't recall those being there, but again, I did take a photo of these books, not like close-up photos, but I think even on the photo I took, I could kind of zoom in and see if that was there. In fact, yeah, I mean, I'll do it and write in the comments when I post the video whether or not that damage was there. I really thought this would come back a 9.8, but I really thought all these books would come back near mint grades at least. But I think I've learned. So the back, no comments on the back. So apparently the back presents really well. This was a really See, the thing is, like, I think they did give me some like bonus points for some reason. They think they um, kind of neglected. Like, they could have dinged me for that. They could have dinged me. They could have really dinged me for that as well. This is fine right there. That's fine. That corner looks good. Oh, see, they could have dinged me for that as well, but they didn't. In the notes, they didn't. They focused on that corner there. So I don't know. I think that subjectivity can kind of sort of work in your favor sometimes. They obviously were much more gracious in their grade with this copy, even though I think this is overall definitely a near mint copy. Um, the fact that they only focused on certain aspects in the grader's notes, they really could have docked me for some of those other things, but they didn't. So that's one nice thing. I think, again, I don't know if they had the same guy working on these books or whatnot, but um, if they had like a different graders and then sort of a team assessment, um, I don't know how that sort of coordination works, but obviously the grader who graded this book was a lot more lenient than the grader who graded my X-Men 120. They really dogged me for that foxing, and so this comic did not have any foxing whatsoever, but it did come back with off-white to white pages. So yeah, all in all, my impression of the submission was good. I'm glad I got these books slabbed, and really the grades. Of course, you want all your books to come back high grade, but I think that's something now that I've tempered my expectation, and rather than having high expectations, you really should go in with realistic. Um, so, I think I've lowered. I'm now, whenever I make a submission and I think the comic book looks clean and could come back a near mint grade, we're not gunning for a 9.8 anymore. What we're gunning for is like a 9.6, a 9.4, and then the expectation is that it'll come back a very fine grade. So if it hits very fine, that's kind of what we expected. If it hits higher in the near mint category, we're happy. And that's the thing. I've got 10 books. I've got 10 books that I'm planning to submit. 3 are signature series books, and so all 3 copies are very clean copies. I'd say the worst of the 3 is the Superman 204, and that has just the ever so slight, not spine stress, but just kind of like crinkling of the spine that can be pressed out. So they're not color breaking, very faint, and I'm sure it can get pressed out. So once pressed, that should come back around, and I'm hoping it'll come back over a 9.0, 9.2. It'll come back over a 9.2. The question is whether we can get a 9.8. I think it has 9.8 potential, but I haven't really examined the book closely, and I don't intend to. I'll look at as closely as I can to it from the cover, but with the expectation that there might be stuff within the book. It's something at this point, I'm committed to getting these 3 books signed, just for the presentation factor. I think in my previous video, if you take a look, you know what 3 books I'm getting signed. It's the X-Men 248, Superman 204 and Batman 608 second print variant cover. And the Superman Batman are the mirror images of them standing on the buildings facing each other. So that will just look fucking badass. Signed, and as you know, I'm gonna try to get Jim Lee to also write Man of Steel and Dark Knight on each copy. So that will be the kind of the personalized factor that will just make that whole submission just worthwhile. I'm very excited for that to come back. What else? Yeah, so those will come back, I'm sure, near mint grades. They're all just great condition books. I think I didn't go over the condition of the books for all of them. I think I did in past videos for X-Men and for the Batman, but not so much for this. Maybe I did do the Superman as well. I'll have to go back and check the videos, but you can see in my previous videos what those grades are. I kind of did poured over the front cover of the book in previous videos, so you can take a look at that. And then I'm debating between submitting 5 or 7 more books. Just on Saturday, I'm gonna go over my entire game plan prior to the Comic-Con. So it's the night before I attend Comic-Con on the 5th, which is a Sunday. Saturday night, I'm gonna just go over kind of like, everything, all the preparations I've made, the comics I bought for CGC submission, and go over my budget that I plan to spend at ECC, and then go over sort of the books on my wish list that we're targeting at the Comic-Con. So yeah, look out for that video. That'll be coming on Saturday night. But the 5 books that I'm planning to submit right now, I'm still in the kind of process of debating the books that I'm currently planning to. So I'm definitely going to do 5. The question is whether I'm going to do 7 or not. I currently have reserved basically $800 to spend at Emerald City Comic Con. $800. And so if I submit 5 books, clean pressed plus I think 2 of them will be the customized color covers. That will run me, I think, $300 for 5 books. For 5 plus the 3 signature series books, so 8 books will run me about $300, which would then leave me $500 to spend buying comics. And so the question is whether I'm going to add 2 additional books, which would take me up to $350, or a little over $350, and then so I would have roughly like $440, $430 rather than $500. I'd have $430 to spend, but I'd have 2 more slabbed books. So the books I'm considering, and again, I've covered most of these books in past videos, so There are books in my collection, but there's my Stan Lee signature Web of Spider-Man 4, which is a great cover of Doc Ock's arms attacking Spider-Man. It's a John Byrne cover, a great cover. That one's probably going to be like an 8.0 grade. Hopefully with a clean and press you can get an 8.5, but that'll come back a green label. Now, I want to slab that book, but I also think we could just keep that in like a Mylar bag and top loader, and just because it doesn't, I mean, we just want to protect it and be able to look at the book, so we don't necessarily need it slabbed. So that's, and you know, we know it's not going to come back a near mint copy, so I'm kind of, I guess, like talking out my thought process of whether it should be submitted at all. If it's just going to stay in my collection, and I already know it's in the very fine grade category, or at least that's what I think it is. The grade isn't as important as just preserving it. So it really comes down to whether I need it in a slab or whether having it in a very clear Mylar bag in a comic top loader is sufficient, and that'll save me so much more money. So that's a dilemma right there. So that's one of the books I'm kind of waffling back and forth. Let me know in your comments what you do. I think maybe that would influence my decision if I had some feedback either way, what your thoughts are. I do like the way these these present. You know, having that blue label and the slabs. The question is like whether it would feel the same having that green label come back with like a, I don't think the signatures affect the grade. So, but anyway, you know, an 8.5 Web of Spider-Man slabbed, or just having blood or what. I'm saving myself a lot of money if I go the latter route. So still debating. We've yet to make a decision on that. The other comics, I have a very high grade copy of Marvel Comics Presents 72. That one, if that comes back a 9.8, is a very very pricey book. So I know the Wolverine books are kind of falling right now because I think there's this initial surge in interest that he and the X-Men are coming to the MCU. That sort of died down now because we haven't heard anything. But once that news breaks, it'll probably go back up. So that's one of the other books under consideration. I think we're definitely going to submit the Punisher limited series, his first limited series book, the first book of his own series is a limited series, #1, the Mike Zeck cover. That is really like near flawless. There's just a little issue on the corner there. So I think that's a 9.6. See you again on Saturday night when we go over my Comic-Con game plan. And yeah, thank you for following me on this journey. To get to my Grail books, to have a Grail realized. So with all the collecting I did back in the day, and then my departure from collecting, I just recently got back in September of this year, and I dove in head first. I'm literally like just so obsessed with the hobby now. And I'm sure that'll kind of fade and die down over time, but right now I'm just like, everything's, I love doing these videos. I love talking about comics. I love kind of watching all the content out there and picking up books. And now, attending the Comic Con in Seattle. So everything's like, the culmination of the past couple months has led to, 10 weeks in, graded books are back, and I was able to pick up my Grail, and I think this Grail will come back in. I think it has potential near mint. It's a very fine condition book for sure. The question is whether we can bump it up to a near mint with a press, and that's what we're hoping to do. So that Grail is definitely one of the books that will be submitted to CGC this weekend, and so will that other second book I'm getting back. So tune in Saturday night for those two books, the game plan. And yeah, I did a lot of ranting. I'm probably going to cut out. So if you see a big cut in the middle, I'm probably going to cut out some of the ranting I did post slab review. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon.